Hi, this is Teresa Martin from capecodnews.org. I'm standing here in Eastham, not far from Cape Cod Bay. It's a rather unremarkable spot, but something remarkable happened while I was on this exact location on Saturday, May 30th. It was a gray, drizzly day, and I was loading up the car for a dump run when suddenly I heard a low-pitched rumble, rumble, boom, ground shake, and then a second rumble, rumble, boom, ground shake. Not thunder, although for a second I thought maybe there was a flash of lightning. Then I began to wonder, had someone dropped a bomb on us?
I thought that for a brief moment too, and we actually went live on our 24/7 weather network to kind of figure things out because we got so many reports of people hearing it. Thought it might have been an earthquake too, but the USGS is pretty good about monitoring that, and like nothing popped up when we were on the stream. So we knew that was kind of, out of the picture. So yeah, this meteorite, that was what was confirmed.
That's Danielle Noyes, meteorologist, whose company 1 Degree Outside predicts and delivers all things New England weather. Between the meteor and the solar flare and the planetary conjunction, this week feels a bit like atmospheric weather week.
What was really interesting, Teresa, and I'm sure you've seen like some of the images, but we've got satellites up in space that can measure this stuff. So one of the things that was interesting is it measured lightning, right? But there were no thunderstorms. So we saw this flash that came up on the satellite imagery, and so that was what was pinpointed for the meteor that came into the southern New Hampshire Mass border and then ended up landing right in Cape Cod Bay. Did you know it's called a fishy squisher? Have you seen that? Yeah. So NASA, it's officially humorously called fishy squishers when the meteorites land in the ocean. I don't know how many fish got squished in Cape Cod Bay, but I thought that was cute. It's probably in about 100 feet of water. Sometimes these meteorites can be attracted to magnets. So, people said it's at the bottom, but if you have, a long magnet off of a boat and you can see if you can try to get a little piece of it, a lot of people have said, is it from a meteor shower? And, meteor showers, it can be tiny little grains of sand that burn up. And that's like when you see the shooting star sort of thing. But this was probably, I think NASA said 3 to 5 feet. So this was not a grain of sand. This is much larger.
Luckily for us living creatures, Earth sits within layers of protective cushioning that process everything from giant rocks to solar flares.
So they're all just up floating in space, right? So think about this, right? How amazing our atmosphere is that it can protect us from these. So this was a daytime bolide. So that's an exceptionally bright meteor that ends up exploding. But seeing and hearing one of these in a specific populated daytime area is pretty rare. But it's our atmosphere's way of protecting us. Our Earth has different layers of the atmosphere. So the troposphere is right above the Earth. So that's the layer that contains 99% of the Earth's water vapor. That's where a lot of our weather occurs. But then you go up, you've got the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the exosphere, the thermosphere, that are the layers that go above the atmosphere. So you mentioned like the northern light. That's something really extraordinary too that comes from the sun, right? The magnetic field, we get these what they're called solar flares. So the sun ejects this massive particles that comes out. So auroras and the meteors come from two different cosmic sources, right? But one is a stray rock from deep in the solar system, and another is this wave of charged particles coming from the sun. But it's a great reminder, right, that Earth does not exist in a vacuum. So the atmosphere isn't just weather and clouds, it's this shield.
While meteors don't land in Cape Cod Bay every day, the elusive northern lights are another story, especially this year.
The sun works on a 11-year solar cycle, and we're hitting a maximum right now. So if you think about the last couple of years, in particular, we've had more of these magnetic storms that have erupted from the sun, and that's because we are coming to this peak of a sun cycle.
Then add the dance of the planets Venus and Jupiter. On June 8th and 9th, they'll be at their closest point to each other this year, which is called reaching conjunction. All in all, June seems like a good time to give a shout out to the dynamics of our skies.
The most remarkable part in terms of the Cape is that the meteorite actually landed in Cape Cod Bay, right? I mean, what are the chances of that, right? But I think that really kind of bridges the gap between science and, our atmosphere and our daily lives.